Okay. Question 3. So question 3 is a 6 marker. So this is a levels of response question. And as you know, with levels of response questions, they always give you boundaries for marks 1 to 2 marks, level 1, level 2, level 3. And your aim is to get as many of the key points, we call that indicative content, and you've obviously got to have accuracy in how you explain your answer. So the question's saying, here's a simplified version of the DNA, and the first thing you've probably noticed is it's a double helix. You can see that there's 2 strands of DNA. If you're not sure what DNA is made of, we have a phosphate group joined to the sugar group called the ribose, joined to a base. Okay, so these are the 3 molecules. Now these lines here, the rungs of the ladder, these actually represent the bases. And the phosphate and the sugar groups are these bits along the side. Okay, so it says use your knowledge and understanding to describe the structure of DNA and explain its importance. So this indicates what its function is, doesn't it? And some of you quite rightly started talking about what DNA is needed for. So you might have said things like, let's look at importance first. Kind of things you might have talked about for that was, some people call it the blueprint for life. It's what controls the cell. You could have talked about it being genetic information or genes. It kind of controls your features and characteristics. Yeah. And it's obviously important because without your genes, then we've seen what happens if there's mistakes in genes, how it affects the functioning of our body. So even like the importance of even a slight mistake in your DNA can cause diseases like you can have Down syndrome with 1 extra chromosome. And the importance, and then the other one is the structure. So for the structure, you can talk about how it's a large molecule. Okay, it's obviously microscopic, but it's quite a large one. It is actually a form of a polymer because each nucleotide, we call this 3 things together a nucleotide. So this DNA is made up of a phosphate, a sugar, and a base, and then that is then connected to another phosphate, sugar, and a base, and these are called nucleotides. So you've got polynucleotides, so it is a polymer, and then it's obviously a helix, so you could talk about it being a double helix. You could talk about how there's 2 strands of DNA. What's connecting them is the bases, so you could talk about how there are 4 different bases you need to know. A, T, C, G. A stands for adenine, thymine, cytosine, and guanine. And obviously, the strands themselves are made up of nucleotides. And a nucleotide is made up of, what we said earlier, phosphate, a sugar, and a base. Okay, so that would have been all the key points for the 6 marker. Most of us did badly, and one of the reasons is we didn't really get onto this lesson, so we'll have to cover that at another